Welcome back to Showmanville Nuggets. This is Eduardo Trinidad from the team at Digital Triggers. Thanks for tuning in. Today's show is a recap episode featuring book recommendations from the guests we've had on the show in Q1. If you've been following Joe for a while, you know that books have played a huge part in shaping the way he operates as an entrepreneur. We're hoping that some of the books featured in this episode can do the same for you guys listening. Here we go.
I always ask one question, and I'm excited to ask you this question. Instead of asking you to recommend 3 books, which I feel like every podcast does, Mike, what are your favorite 3 books? I do something a little bit different. I ask, what's the one book that's made the biggest impact on the way that you do business, and why?
Oh man, I would probably say I'm gonna go with 2 books.
Okay.
One is I think super obvious. The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm sure that's been recommended a million times on your podcast. Super important. Just focus on the one thing that's going to move the needle the most. Pareto principle, everything like that. The other one's is called The Big Leap.
Okay.
By Gay Hendricks. Have you heard of that?
I haven't heard of that one. No.
So the main concept on this one, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs should read this, is the concept of upper limiting yourself. So people will say they don't deserve that, or they don't think they can become, this person that they want to become. So they're putting a ceiling on mentally, subconsciously on where they think they can get to. So yeah, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, incredible read.
That's awesome. And The One Thing is a great read as well. Definitely one of my all-time favorites. And Gary, just asked, what's the one thing that you've got to do today to make basically all these other things tomorrow happen and null and void, basically. And so when you think about that, how does that apply to your business? I'm curious.
The one thing I think it's been pretty evident on this whole podcast, right? It's how can you say no more? Right? Say no to the things that are going to be time sucks and just say yes to the 1 or 2 things that are going to move the needle the most. And for me, the things that move the needle the most are getting inbound booked appointments on my calendar and closing those appointments. That moves the needle the most for me. That gets me the most revenue. That allows me the time freedom to go pick up my daughter early from daycare, or go on an extra long dog walk, or, whatever else I want to do, play piano for 3 hours a day sometimes. I'm not that good, but I enjoy it. But yeah, it's really how can I do, you said it earlier, how can you do less with more? Do more with less. Do more with less. And that's about cutting things out of your life that don't add to the value of your life ethos.
I want to wrap it up in asking, instead of asking you, I feel like every podcast at the end, they're like, tell us, your favorite 3 books. I like that question. I read some books, don't get me wrong, but I like to ask it a little bit of a different way. So I ask, what's the one book that's made the biggest impact on the way that you do business, the way that you look at business, the way that you approach it, maybe the way that your businesses look or are structured? What's the one book that has made the biggest impact?
Glad you asked me now. I hadn't read a book in I think my whole life until this last year. Swear to God, I bang a book 1 or 2 a month. The biggest one was E-Myth by Michael Gerber. It's I was already I already did that stuff in my ecom brand, but now what I do is I take books like that, I read them, and then I give them to my partner because he's stuck in it. So right now that book has had, just, even though it's stuff we're already kind of doing, high level, get out of your business, and it's just a reminder. So that book's just been awesome.
You just gave me a little takeaway there, man. That was really good. You gave me a writer downer. The giving it to my partner, right, is key. One of my business partners, we exchange books all the time, but one of my business partners, we don't. We never talk about that, and so that was a nice little takeaway. Definitely love that. And Michael Gerber stuff is good. Working through being the technician, then becoming the manager, then kind of moving on to being over top of it, as an investor. Or some type of more senior role like that. So, man, what's the one book that's made the biggest impact on the way that you do business or that you approach business, and why?
Yeah, that's good. I certainly could name 3. I would have to say, well, I'll kind of cheat, I guess, and call it a tie, but I think they're pretty similar. E-Myth and Built to Sell. I think I have a lot of the same concepts, but to kind of merge them and draw it together, it's like there's a way to do it that you're building a company that's very clear process, good systems. Like I'm just a very systems thinking kind of person. And so I think that was really huge for me, that sort of demystifies like, how do you build a company and scale it up and know that you're doing it in the right way. And I think, and that you will have consistency as it scales. And so those two books together, I think as one, it's cheating, is really been impactful, because I think it's just that concept really just changed the way I thought about kind of moving forward with some of the consulting I was doing before, and then even into 10 speed now.
Like if you're not getting a result and you're not following a plan, then and your actions are based off of anything other than emotion or random sporadic activity, then you're not going to get the outcome you want. And I think that takes a lot of discipline and maturity and humility to look at that without judgment and say, you know what, I don't have a plan. I don't know what actions to do. I don't have a feedback loop if I'm actually making any progress. And I don't have any sort of like support system to get there. And so that took me a very long time to really learn. And I'm learning that now in other areas of my life. And I'm reading a book on it right now, Who Not How. And that's another thing that's like showing me of all the small places that actually compound into so much time and outcome that I actually want. So a lot of it's ego and just like being too cocky and arrogant, even though you might not feel like that your actions, my actions illustrated that very clearly.
Dude, there were so many nuggets right there. Wow. Dude, that like last 5-minute rant, that was fantastic. Like really, really good.
And then I read Phil Jackson's 11 Rings book, which I'm a huge basketball fan. And one of the first things he mentioned in the book is like, forget about the rings. And I'm like, man, like, that's not what I want to hear from a guy who has 11 rings. Like, that's confusing, because you can't, it's not logical, but it makes sense, I guess. So I think it's just accepting that at a deeper level.
At the end of every podcast episode, I always ask, instead of, I feel like every podcast says like, hey, what's your favorite 3 books, Los? I do something a little different. I say like, looking at your business now, not 6 months ago, not 6 years ago, like looking at it now, what book do you think has made the biggest impact on the way that you guys are doing business, attacking business right now?
It's not a business book.
Okay.
It's by this guy, Frederick Dodson, and it's called Levels of Energy.
Okay. Tell us what that means. What is Levels of Energy?
It's a book about like every person at every stage has like a certain level of energy. Like level 0 is like crackheads. Like level 100 is like people that are pissed off. Like level 500 is like people that are super good at like a lot of things. And so I think that at this point, what we're trying to do, like, we don't need another marketing book. We need to understand the problems that are happening are mindset problems and ego problems and like energy problems almost. And I know that sounds woke, and I'm not really a woke dude, but like, I can understand, like, it's made me be empathetic and listen. It helps in leadership when you know, like, oh, dude, he's here right now. Probably not a good time to talk about this. This is happening. Probably not a good time to bring this up. This is in a great mood. Let's leverage that to move over here. This is a good sales call, or this is a bad sales call based off like the level of this person's energy. So it really kind of like, it's almost a sales psychology book with it like hiding inside of like wokeness. But it really helps you kind of, even for yourself, you can be like, man, like, I'm not killing it today. What's going on? Like, oh, my levels of energy are down. What do I need to do to bring it back up? Like, how can I practice being grateful? Like, I've been doing a lot of like thoughtfulness and like being grateful. Just like when I'm like stressed out, I'm like, oh, we could go faster. I go back and I'm like, man, I can't even believe I'm here. Like, it's crazy. And why am I here? What are the results that have got me here? Like, okay, I feel really good. Tomorrow is always a better day and stuff like that. So I would recommend that book for people. And then another book, which again is not a business book, but it's called Breathe. It just teaches you how to breathe, again, to like calm your central nervous system, do stuff like that. Like, we run a lot of businesses now. We spend a lot of money on ads. We're doing a lot of stuff, and I've never been more chill. Like, we don't work on Fridays. I leave 2 to 3 times a week at like 3 o'clock or 2:30, and like the businesses are growing, and it's because like I am not forcing everything anymore. I'm very calm on our goals, our missions, our visions, where we're going. And it's made people inadvertently, without me forcing it, move into their next place, give themselves more confidence, understand like when to have better conversations, have better meetings and stuff like that. So I think it's a really good book to like help businesses go to the next level.
Thanks for tuning in and showing me the nuggets. If you've been enjoying the podcast and find our content helpful, please visit our Apple Podcast page, hit the subscribe button, and leave us a review. Joe and the whole team have been working hard to bring more value to the show. Your feedback will go a long way in helping us make the show better and reach a wider audience.